Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report. And coming up on today's show, Patrick Graham. Is he staying in Las Vegas? I'll give you my answer on that. And then the Las Vegas Raiders, they hired some new coaches. I want to break it down a little bit more in depth. If you saw my shorts from the past 24 hours, you probably know who I'm going to talk about. But I just want to go in and give some flowers here to these coaches because I'm telling you right now, the Raiders are doing some really, really good things. So to me, I've said this once, I've said it twice, I've said it 100 times. I love Antonio Pierce. And I know the nation loves AP. They give him a lot of respect. However, though, I believe that it is just as important for the Raiders to keep Patrick Graham as it was for the Raiders to keep Antonio Pierce. Because to me, these guys are together. These guys are a joint package deal. And how good this team was defensively, it is so important for you to be able to keep this coordinator because I don't want the Raiders defense to go back to the way it was. I do not want this Raiders defense to be bad again. I don't want them to have to learn a brand new system again. So to me, I've said this 100 times, and I want y'all to spam PG right now. I don't know if he's going to see this video, but you know what? I know a lot of people will see this, and I believe we had a really good job of getting McDaniels fired. I believe really well that the nation, Mark Davis, heard us when we were spamming higher AP. So let's show some love to PG. If you spammed higher AP, spam PG down below to show our DC some love. Because I'm telling you, I want the Raiders to keep Patrick Graham. This is the first Raiders defense since 2002 to allow less than 20 points per game. If you believe in defense wins championships, if you believe that Super Bowls are won, not because of the offense, but because of a great defense, what the hell are you waiting for then? Because right now, the Raiders have a Super Bowl caliber defense. I know that there's going to be some trolls out there like, that's not true. With AP and Patrick Graham, the Raiders allowed 16 points per game. That was number one in the NFL over that stretch. Were there some backup quarterbacks in it? Yes. However, though, 9 out of 32 starting quarterbacks to begin the year, only 9 QBs played the entire season. 66 quarterbacks in total. Every single NFL team played against backup QBs. But when you add all of that in with a team built by a clown and Josh McDaniels, and then you think about the fact that they spent the second least amount of money on the defensive side of the football, it just speaks volumes of how well coached, how great Antonio Pierce and Patrick Graham were together. And you are crazy if you do not see that. So is Patrick Graham staying? Personally, I think that he is going to end up staying here with the Las Vegas Raiders. And the reason why I'm confident that he's going to end up staying, and the reason why I want him to stay, is because the Raiders blocked PG's defensive coordinator interview. So if you don't know the ins and outs of how the NFL works is you can block lateral moves. So if any NFL team out there were to say, hey, we want to interview Patrick Graham to be our next defensive coordinator, the Raiders can say no, and they block it, which they did, which is a good thing, right? You can't, though, in the NFL, block a move that's considered to be better, head coaching position, nor should you, right? If Antonio Pierce or if Patrick Graham has the opportunity to get a head coaching job, that betters his life, betters his family. You should support that. That's what good people do. And from what it looks like right now, he has been interviewed. He is a serious contender out there. But the fact that the Raiders blocked the move that they could block screamed to me, we want to keep Patrick Graham. But if another NFL team wants to give him a job, and right now there are 2 head coaching openings, the Washington Commanders and the Seattle Seahawks. Those are the only 2 openings as it stands right now. We have said multiple times on this show that we believe Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator of the Detroit Lions, is expected to get hired for the Commanders, which then leaves up the Seattle job. I will admit, the job that has scared me the most about PG leaving has been the Seattle Seahawks. But the reason why I'm confident that he's not going to go anywhere is because, to me, the Seahawks have their guy, Dan Quinn. He's going to have a second interview with the Seattle Seahawks. And to me, the fact that he's getting that second interview, Quinn was there before. He's got a lot of ties to that organization. The fact that Pete Carroll got moved on from when he did, it was a big-time surprise. To me, there's a reason behind that. When big things happen like Pete Carroll getting fired or leaving, fired, that screams they have a plan. To me, that plan is Dan Quinn. So Dan Quinn, going to be the head coach of the Seahawks. Ben Johnson, going to be the head coach of the Washington Commanders. Then Patrick Graham, he's at the intro press conference with Tom Telesco. He's at the intro press conference, obviously, with Antonio Pierce. And if you were watching it, one of the very first things that Antonio Pierce said was like, Patrick Graham, I think it was almost one of those things of him saying, hey, man, shout out to PG for being in the building, but also, like, this is a guy that we want to be around. And I know that Graham could be a head coach. I really do. I believe Patrick Graham is going to get his shot. He deserves it. He's a very good teacher. He's a very smart man. And when you can turn a Raiders defense to what they were just a few years ago to what they are now, he deserves a lot of credit. Yes, Antonio Pierce helped, but Patrick Graham deserves his flowers. He was good last year, turned a good defense to a great defense to an elite defense. When you see that type of progression, that's why he's getting interviews to be a head coach. Patrick Graham is doing a hell of a job. And the fact that he was there yesterday, I absolutely love seeing it. So we're going to give you the last reason here of why I believe that Patrick Graham is going to be back and staying here with the Las Vegas Raiders, because it's the biggest one. But once it's confirmed that LV is keeping PG, I'm going to be going live here on the show. So make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you got those notifications turned on, because don't get me wrong, I'll be excited when the Raiders hire an OC because we don't know exactly who that is. And it is expected that PG is going to be staying. But when that becomes officially official, y'all better be ready to party with me and celebrate it, because if you partied for AP, you better damn well party for Patrick Graham as well, because he deserves it, man. He freaking deserves it. The final reason here why I believe that Patrick Graham is ultimately going to end up be staying here with the Las Vegas Raiders, it's because they've already hired 2 coaches on defense, and they're not just like normal hires. To me, when you see up-and-coming coaches, there's a reason why up-and-coming coaches would ultimately join the Las Vegas Raiders. Why? It's because they're going to be working for somebody that they like, that they trust. And I'm going to tell you who those 2 coaches were on defense and why I'm so excited about them hiring. It's not just because I believe it means Patrick Graham staying. It means that good things are coming here for this defense. Really, really good things. But guess what, man? We got a new sponsor. And I'll tell you what right now, I've had a lot of wild sponsors here on the Raiders Report, and this one might be the most crazy, and I'm telling you right now, has anybody ever used a bidet? If you used a bidet before, Jeremy's raising his hand, I've used a bidet as well. If you haven't, it is life-changing. Well, guess what? Today's episode is sponsored by Tushy. In the future, people are going to laugh about how we used to just leave dirty poo-poo in our bee-holes all day. Deep down, we all know that using toilet paper alone leaves nasty and smelly bacteria behind in our butts. Tushy has finally made number 2 cleanup hygienic and better for the environment. You now can have fresh stream of water, the same water as your sink or shower, to clean up your bum after every poop. Tushy's bidets are easy to set up on your any toilet. In under 10 minutes, you can set up your at-home bidet that will change your life forever. I am not even kidding. This product is life-changing, and if we're being honest, it feels pretty good too. Get that fresh out of the shower feeling at hellotushy.com/chat. For a limited time, our listeners get 10% off your entire order when you use code CHAT at checkout. That's 10% off your order at hellotushy.com/chat. Make sure you use promo code CHAT. It's time to back that ass up with confidence. And I'm just going to be real. I think every single guy out there is like, let's be real here for a second, right? When you think about going to the bathroom, like, there's no way I'm dropping a number 2 after I take a shower. You sit there and you wait.
Back that ass up!
You get that out, and then you go in the shower, and then you got the cleanest bunghole in the entire world, right? It is an unbelievable modern bidet, and I agree with this, where, like, using toilet paper is kind of weird when you really think about it. When you have technology in today's world to be able to do this, and it does feel kind of good. So, hellotushy.com/chat. That link's available to you all down in the comments, down in the description. Chugs and I just got one, and I don't think I'm ever going back. And you know what's also great? One of the little fights that Alex and I used to get into was, there's no toilet paper left. Doesn't happen anymore. We're saving marriages, and that's what I mean. Saving marriages, saving relationships.
And saving buttholes.
Shout out to Tushy. Let's go to the coaches that the Raiders ended up hiring over the past 24 hours, and why I do think it's a reason why that the Raiders are going to end up keeping Patrick Graham. It's because you don't hire coaches like this unless these guys are confident of who they're going to be coaching underneath, and that's going to be PG. So Gerald Alexander, safety coach, now for the Las Vegas Raiders, was hired yesterday. Played in the NFL from 2007 to 2011 in 44 games total. One of the things that I've mentioned before on the show, and it looks like the Raiders are really trying to build a staff that it's not only do they have coaching experience, but they also have that experience of being a player. And if you're AP, it's going to be one of the things that they're going to be able to build and bring here to the staff, because if you're a dude, and Crosby's talked about it, Devontae Adams has talked about it, when you can sit down with somebody that actually has that experience and has been in your shoes, that can go a very far way. He was the Steelers DB coach the past 2 seasons and helped run the Dolphins DB room. Guys like Xavier Howard, Javon Holland, was able to create a lot of talent in both of those systems with very, very good head coaches underneath him. Gerald Alexander, I'm telling you, is an unbelievable hire. So I actually had a friend, 2 friends, that cover the NFL. They work here at Chat Sports, and they were talking to me about this hire overall. The person who covers the Pittsburgh Steelers said, great teacher, perfect fit with AP. Our Dolphins reporter said this is going to be low-key hire like Rob Leonard. And for anybody that watched the show, you guys know how much I like Rob Leonard. He's one of the best defensive line coaches in the league. It's a great hire for you guys. So when you consider the fact of, if we can find a Rob Leonard type of coach and you put him in the safety room and you pair that with Marcus Epps, you pair that with Trevon Merrick, a unit that was already very, very good, and then you combine that with Jason Simmons, I'm telling you right now, that secondary is looking really, really strong. I'll tell you who the other coach is here in just a second, but if you don't already know, we're going to be throwing a huge Super Bowl party in Las Vegas. Jeremy Chuggs and I, we're bringing the Raiders Report to all y'all. So if you enjoy watching this show, whether you watch it with your wife, you watch it with your friends, you watch it with your kids, it's kid-friendly. If you are comfortable with your kids watching the Raiders Report on YouTube, guess what? You're going to be okay at the live event as well. Here's the address. Here's the starting time. I will say the venue, from what I understand, holds about 100 people. It will be first come, first serve, so I would say try to get there just a little bit early to ensure that you got a spot. You're going to be able to meet Chuggs and I, and if you're wondering, well, Mitch, what does the venue look like? It's got a full bar. On the one TV that you see on screen, that's going to be showing the Super Bowl, and then there's actually another screen on the left that you can't quite see in the picture. That's actually where you're going to be able to watch the Raiders Report if you just wanted to see what the viewer would see at home. Chuggs and I are going to be where the woman and the stole are going to be. You guys are going to be where the audience is, and there's going to be opportunities for you guys to come up on the show with us, do some beer bongs, take a few shots, get your questions in. We're going to try to make this a very immersive experience, but hey, I get it. You want to go to the thing, you want to go to the Raiders Sport watch party, maybe you want to take your wife out for dinner, you can do that. Joel's Chop House is one of the best steakhouses in all of Las Vegas, and if you're like, you know what, Mitch, I don't really need a steak, but can I get a few drinks before? Yes, you can. They have a wine bar, and it's a social club also on site at Ahern, and from everything that I've heard, very, very good food, very, very good wine, and the person who's the GM at Joel's Chop House is a diehard Raider fan. He watches the show all the time. So we're going to have special food and drink deals there for the entire nation. Like, you're going to be able to get your own food. You're going to be able to get your own drinks, but I will promise this. We're also going to get you guys a lot of stuff, too. Plenty of giveaways. I've been told there's going to be some Raiders players there, so obviously that can always change depending on what happens in their own lives. But opportunities to join the live show. If you love hanging out with Jeremy and I on YouTube, let's kick it up here a little bit of a notch. And if this thing goes well, we're going to be able to go out to Las Vegas every single game next season. I want to take the Raiders Sport to the next level. I'm just being real. I need y'all's help to do it. So please show up. Be ready to have a good time. Super Bowl watch party here on the Raiders Report. All right, let's go to the last coach that the Raiders ended up hiring. His name is Ricky Manning. He is now the cornerback coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. You see a trend here. Played in the NFL from 2003 to 2009. That's 84 games played in total. And he's been an NFL coach since 2016 on some pretty good defensive staffs. He was with Seattle, also with the New York Jets most recently. But here's the thing that I know you guys are going to like. And one of the things that Antonio Pierce said and noted in his press conference was not every coach is built to be a Raiders coach. Not every coach is built to work here in Las Vegas. Fresno, California native who finished his NFL career with the Raiders, albeit it was on the practice squad. But to me, Ricky Manning has worked with a lot of very, very talented players. And what's funny is actually had somebody reach out to me that knows Ricky Manning personally and that is related to Ashton Davis, safety from Cal, which I know some of y'all were like hitting me up about. Like, oh, should the Raiders draft him a few years ago? Ashton Davis, from what I understand, could be at least a name to keep in mind to potentially join Ricky Manning, join the Las Vegas Raiders. Unfortunately, I forget your name, whoever hit me up on IG, but don't be afraid to hit me up again. That way I can give you your flowers. Anyway, though, could just be a name to keep in mind. We'll throw out there at a potential video, I'm sure. So right now what I'm thinking about this is the Raiders are low-key building a incredible defensive coaching staff. Like, The Las Vegas Raiders last season underneath Antonio Pierce and Patrick Graham had the number one defense points per game metric, which I think is a pretty important metric, right? And now you're adding to it even more. Like with Jason Simmons, the two coaches that you just added, on top of Rob Leonard and your entire staff overall, I'm telling you, this Raiders defensive coaching staff is getting better and better, and I'm really excited to see where it goes. Before I end the show, sometimes I like to test you guys to see, all right, who watches the entire video? Well, guess what? Max Crosby was nominated for Defensive Player of the Year. He's a finalist in that, going up against some stiff competition, TJ Watt, Myles Garrett, Micah Parsons, and if I'm being honest with you, I don't think he's going to win. Why? Because the Raiders haven't won enough, and unfortunately, that's just somehow the way it goes, and we know how the NFL feels about the Raiders. So how about this? If you made it this far in the video, and if you think that Max Crosby deserves to be the Defensive Player of the Year, I want you to spam 98 down below, because the identity, what it means to be a Raider, is Max freaking Crosby. Antonio Pierce said it. I'm saying it right now. Show Mad Max a little bit of love. Spam those 98s.